and welcome to the Carla Knits podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, sometimes crocheting, but always all of the yarny goodness that I love. Today is Friday, March 4th, and I am coming to you from Nebraska. This is episode 45. A big welcome to any new viewers, and to those of you who are returning, thank you so much for coming back each time to join me with my crafty chat. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry, and most recently my Etsy shop as cbcraftygirl. And we do have a podcast group on Ravelry for Carla Knits, which we'd love to have you join. Currently, I am hosting a Love Your Stash Mal, which goes for the entirety of 2022, and that is to use things in your stash prior to the beginning of this year. And there is so much chatter going on in the group, and there are so many finished objects already. You guys have been great. It is such a fun group to read through all of the comments. You guys are really active. I'd like to try to be a little more active in there, but I try to pop in when I can. But I just enjoy reading the discussion between you guys. You guys are just so much fun. So thank you for making the Ravelry group such a fun place to be. So if you'd like to join in using your stash, so it just has to be something cast on or made, this year, and it could be whips that were 50% or less prior to the beginning of the year, but just using stash things that were already in your yarn stash. I think I've said that enough times now. So, and I did say it will go the entirety of this year, and I will be drawing prizes quarterly. So after March, can you believe we're already in March? After March, the first podcast that I do in April, I will pick a winner from the chatter thread and from the finished object thread to give a prize to. So love to have you join us there. Also on Ravelry, I have an Ask Me Anything thread, and I did get a question this week, so thank you to Juanita for the question, and I'm going to read this. She says, "Hi Carla, I am so enjoying your podcast." Thank you very much, Juanita. That's really sweet. My question for you is, what is your favorite knit crochet project ever? It may sound like a pretty tough one to answer. She said, but I can absolutely tell you mine. And I hope this is okay, Juanita, that I'm sharing this. It is a shawl that I knit with Rowan Kid Silk Haze in the California Sunrise colorway. I bought the yarn in a lovely little yarn shop in Lake Tahoe in 2016, and the shawl reminds me of all those California sunrises and sunsets we saw during that vacation. It was my first project using mohair and one of my first beaded projects, and I could not have been happier with the outcome. So, can you narrow down your favorites to one project that has totally captured your heart? Thanks for sharing all your beautiful projects with us, Juanita. Well, thank you so much for your kind words, and your shawl sounds absolutely amazing with mohair and beads. I have yet to try something with beads. That's always been maybe a little intimidating, but I think I should give it a try sometime. So your project does sound very lovely. This was kind of a hard one. I think I've answered this question perhaps in the past on the podcast. I picked two projects, so I hope that's okay. And it's really hard to pick your favorites. I mean, there's just so many beautiful yarns out there and so many wonderful patterns. And I guess, different thoughts and feelings as you are making them, or, circumstances where you are. Were you on vacation while you're knitting or crocheting them? Was this a particularly stressful time that you were doing this in? So there's a lot of things probably that go into a favorite project. So Juanita, that's really neat that you have that special shawl with those special memories. But I will share mine. I'm wearing it. So what I'm wearing, this is one of my favorite projects, one that I am really proud of. This is the Soldotna by Caitlin Hunter, and when it came out, I thought the color work was just really fun, but it is a cropped sweater, and I thought, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not a cropped sweater person. But you know, the more I saw it and the different color combinations that were out there, I just really loved it. And I was really very new to color work, but I just decided, you know, you've wanted to do this project, you've had your eye on this project, just lengthen it. So it is longer. So I did not make it a cropped version. So it is a very wearable version. I love the colors I picked. If you've been around for any length of time, you know that I really love pink. I love bright colors. So this, I believe, is my second colorwork sweater that I ever made, if I'm remembering correctly. And so it used four different colors of yarn, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. I absolutely love this sweater. The sleeves may be a little bit wonky. I don't know. My gauge certainly isn't perfect, but as far as a big first or second color work project goes, you know, I was really proud of this sweater, and it made me really happy. It makes me happy to wear it because it's bright, bright and cheerful. So I really do love this. And I've made a few colorwork sweaters since then, but this one really stands out as one of my favorites. The other project, which I know I've shared before, is a blanket. This is a Knit Purl Hunter pattern, and this blanket has seen better days. It is very well loved. But this is one of the first things I made when I learned to knit. So it's called Building Blocks. It's a pattern book of 12 different squares to make you can put them together to make an afghan or a baby blanket or pillows. But 12 different squares. I know I'm holding this up. I hope you are seeing some of the different textures and stitches on there. So, you know, I was a crocheter for many years and didn't really think I would be a knitter. I thought you were either one or the other. At least, you know, that was kind of the misconception maybe that I'd been told. But I really wanted to learn how to do this. And when our yarn store opened in town a few months afterwards, this knit along came about. And so I thought I had knit a few dishcloths, but I thought, well, this would really be great. So I think we did like 1 or 2 blocks a month. I think it was 2 blocks a month. And I really attribute this to learning how to knit with the different stitches, the different increases. There's lace patterns in here, there's cables in here, there's bobbles in here. So it's just a very special project to me. And I do have a weekly knitting and crochet group of people that I meet with that have been meeting since 2013. And one of the ladies in the group has been a crocheter, but recently picked up knitting. And again, she knit a couple dishcloths, and then she is going through this book, learning the blocks and learning the new stitches and techniques. So I think it is a wonderful pattern. I love the finished project, but I love how it really helped me learn all of the stitches and techniques. Just a very good resource. So if you're new to knitting, I could not recommend this more. So Building Blocks, Knit Purl Hunter. So those are probably the projects I am most proud of. All right, let's see. I have one finished object today, and that is my blooming bandana cowl. I talked about this last week. Yep, just 1 week. So it was a quick project. It's a bulk or a chunky weight yarn. It's by Premier Yarns. It is Bloom Chunky Big, and the pattern is also a Premier pattern. The pattern called for, and it's a free pattern, the pattern called for size 11 needles, which I had started it on, and then I realized that the stitches were too open. I didn't really like the look of that, so I ripped it out and put it down to a 10, which I'm really glad that I did, because I only have about this much of a ball of yarn left, so it certainly would not have worked with the 11. So maybe my gauge was really big using that size needle, which I don't really understand, because normally with patterns I have to go up a couple needle sizes, or at least one needle size to get close to gauge, but not so in this case. I had to go down. So I will try this on. It's kind of cute. I'm happy with how it turned out. I hope it doesn't curl too much. I did wet block it and kind of, you know, set it out. But I could see the edges. They probably are going to start doing that. But it's cute. I mean, I was drawn to the yarn and the colors, you know, with the blooms with flowers, because I love flowers. So, I think, you know, I've made it, and I'm happy, you know, that I used the yarn and saw how it turned out. Hopefully my hair is not too terribly crazy now. I have a dresser mirror down there, so I just that's okay. So I just you know, this reaffirms that I really don't necessarily enjoy working on bigger needles. Even the size 10s with the chunky weight yarn, it's still hard on the fingers. So I cannot say this is a pleasure to knit. It's a cute finished object. I don't know if I will wear it or gift it. It's probably going to go in the gift tub. But I was drawn to the yarn, and I'm glad I got to use it and see that. So, all right. So that is the only finished object. I do have a half object today, and it's a sock. Finally, a sock. One sock. It's the first sock done of this pair. So this is by Lollipop Yarns in her Charisma colorway. And where that stitch marker is where I was at last week. So did the rest of the foot and down to the toe. So that was quite a bit of knitting. If you've been here a while, you know I talk about I have big feet, size 10, US 10 for women. So it does take me a while to knit down the foot of the sock. And I did make the leg a little extra long too this time. I just like to see that a lot of those stripes. So I think that's fun. And I did a German short row heel for the heel with the contrasting lime green yarn, and I really like how that turned out. So yeah, I'm not knitting nearly as many socks this year, it seems like. Not because I don't like socks. I love socks. You guys know that I love socks, but maybe I'm not quite as into knitting socks right now, or they're taking a little longer than I want them to be. I've got other projects that are calling. So I do want to get on to the second one. I don't ever want my socks to be languishing. Yeah, that would just drive me crazy. So I do need to cast the second one on, but I have not yet. But that leads nicely into whips or works in progress. So I did, this is a baby cast on, but I did, yay, cast on the second sock of that Outlander sock. So this is Bumblebee Acres Farm yarn. It's a 75-25 blend Corriedale yarn, Corriedale nylon, and it's from their Outlander collection in the Claire colorway. So I have finished the first sock, and I did cast on the cuff of the second sock. So I do knit my cuffs 20 rounds of knit to purl to ribbing. That is my favorite ribbing for a sock. For myself, it's just a little neater and tidier if I do the 2x2 as opposed to the 1x1. So that is the progress on that sock. I'm happy to have it started. I will be happy if I can get the other sock cast on and started, because this makes for good car knitting. If we're going anywhere where I'm not driving, it makes for good knitting at the library, where I knit with my knitting group each week. So it's good social knitting just to be knitting on a sock. So that's where I am with my sock knitting, my first whip there. The second work in progress that I have, and I will insert a picture here, I talked about last week as something I was hoping to cast on soon, and it's a gnome. So this is the first time knitting a gnome, and it's called Oh Gnome You Didn't by Sarah Shira. And so things were a little hectic feeling early last week, so I decided to start with the scarf. I haven't woven in the ends yet, but it's just a simple garter stitch scarf for 11 inches. It's been blocked, so it may be a little bit longer, but just a very simple scarf. And the yarn I use is just a little kit that I had picked up on Etsy last year. It was just called Gnome Kit by, the store was A Busy Life. So she put together a kit for this particular gnome. So the other piece that I have knit is the hat. Isn't that cute? So from the picture, it only looks like there are 2 spikes, but there are actually 3 spikes. It kind of reminds me of a jester's hat, but so I was using double point needles for this. And when you start, it's a little fiddly with the double points, but ultimately it was just fine, and it was kind of fun to use the double points again. Yeah, so this was kind of a labor of love. I don't know, I haven't looked super closely at the other gnomes, so I know the hats are all different. I feel like maybe I picked one of the more, I know there is a color work one too, and there is a cable one, but I feel like I picked kind of an involved one with three spokes, so lots of tiny knitting in the round. But it's super cute, and I think that'll be fun with the scarf. And then going on the end of each spoke is tiny little tassels, which I think is going to be so cute. So it'll be in a similar color to this, which will have the tassels. And then my next part is to pick up the body, and so this is going to be the body of the body color of the gnome. So yeah, this is really fun. Yeah, I'm really excited that I have this cute little hat made. I think it's just darling. So I look forward to continuing working on this little gnome. All right, some good progress got made into, let's see, my stash dance shawl. In fact, this morning I moved it on to bigger needles, although it's still kind of bunched up, but it was really bunched up this morning. So I did a couple rows so I could show it a little better. So from where that progress keeper is down is how much I've done this week. I measured it. It's a little over 4 inches. So it is a little slow going because those rows are getting longer, but I am still really enjoying this pattern. I do find it very, it's repetitive, but very relaxing. And you do have to pay attention to which row you're on with that. Stash Dance, I don't know if I said by Susan Ashcroft. This is a DK weight shawl, although I think you could kind of modify it for, and I think it says that maybe in the pattern you can modify it for different weights of yarn, and it does call for two contrasting colors, but I am using Hobby Lobby Yarn Bee Chloe in the Soft Petals colorway, and so there are a couple of variations of color, peach grays, taupes, and so you see that throughout. So I really didn't feel it necessary to be using 2 colors of yarn because there is enough variation going on with the yarn itself. So I'm excited that I have 2 balls of this that were gifted to me at Christmas time. So I have 2 balls of this yarn, and I got to the second one last night. So I feel like, all right, we're at the halfway point. So I'm just going to use this as much as I can, you know, try to use, you know, just about all of it till I get to the border, and hopefully it will be a decent shawl. I like triangular shawls probably the best. Yeah, I think I can say that. I probably do like triangular shawls the best, but I want it to be long enough so that when I put it on like kerchief style, that those ends can come around and hang down, or at least tie underneath. You know, when I was first knitting, I was doing a lot of shawlettes, and those just aren't very long, so it's really hard to make them stay if you don't have a lot to tie, or those ends don't hang down long enough. So I'm hoping that these ends will be long enough so that this shawl will stay in place. The yarn has been lovely to work with. The texture is so pretty, and it's just really soft. So a soft color palette, but I'm really enjoying this. My last work in progress is the dishcloth for March. I am participating in the Kitchen Sinks year-long dishcloth pattern series. She's doing it based on some of her favorite books. This month's theme, or this month's book, I wrote this down. The pattern is called Emily's Garden Dishcloth, and it's from, let's see, Emily of the New Moon series by Lucy Maud Montgomery. So I am not familiar with this particular series, but I really love how that sweet little border worked up. So it is plain in the middle, but has this lovely border detail on the bottom and then going up the sides. This is a free pattern. You can sign up through Instagram, her Instagram profile, and if you sign up for her monthly newsletter, this will come to your email towards the beginning of the month, I think right on the 1st. And later on in the month, it is available free on Ravelry too. And I know she did a dishcloth pattern club last year as well, so she's got a lot of beautiful dishcloth patterns out there. So really fun if you enjoy just a little bit of a challenge or just a little bit of interest in your dishcloths. This is just really, really quite fun. The yarn I'm using, I don't have a tag with. It's a cone. It's probably, you know, the peaches and cream or lily sugar and cream, you know, I think probably from Walmart a couple of years ago. So I'm trying to, you know, I'd like, every time I see the beautiful new washcloth come out or dishcloth, I'm like, oh, I'd like to go maybe buy a new skein of cotton yarn. I'm like, no, use what you have in your stash. So so that's what I'm doing. So I have plenty of this for a few dishcloths. I know what I made with this. Nitty Natty's float tote, her crochet float tote. If any of you are familiar with that crochet project bag, that is what I made using that yarn initially. But I'm really happy with how the dishcloth's working up. I don't have a lot of progress, but some. So I think I've made some good progress for this week. Because we are at the start of a new month, I thought I would share my yarn in, yarn out. So this is kind of in regards to how am I doing with my stash this year. So in the month of February, I took in 4 skeins of yarn and 11 skeins went out of my stash. And I think that was my number for January also, as far as the out. I think it was 11 skeins out. So what were those projects in February? My sweater, the bean and olive sweater, I believe that was 7. I had a heart cowl. I had the pink pair of hearts hat, 7, 8, 9. I'm trying to think what else. A couple other things. I did a couple dishcloths, but I counted my dishcloths as 0.5 skeins. Those were smaller skeins, but I felt like I had enough yarn that I could make another dishcloth from them. So I only counted each dishcloth as 0.5 out of my stash. So 11 skeins out in the month of February. So I'm pretty happy with how things are going so far this year. I'm being pretty under control with yarn buying. So I'm pretty excited about that. Of course, there's always new beautiful yarns that may tempt me, so we will see, but so far I am enjoying using my stash, and I'm anxious to see what will happen in the month of March, to see what goes in and out of my stash. So a couple things to share. I had shared a couple weeks ago that I am working on a cross stitch, a knitting themed cross stitch, just for a decoration for this room. And I will, if I remember, I will try to insert a picture here of where I was when I showed it on the podcast a couple weeks ago. But here is, hopefully, let me hold this behind it. Hopefully you can see the progress on that. So this is Tracy Campbell Designs. I purchased this chart on Etsy, and it is called Home is Where the Wool Is. So you can definitely see the basket and those balls of yarn starting to take shape. So I try to do a little bit every other day or so. It is a little hard on the eyes, although I did get some magnifying glasses, which did help. I wear them over my own glasses, and I think somebody talked about that in the comments on one of the podcasts, how they had like magnifying and lit glasses. So thank you for that recommendation. So I put the magnifying glasses over these, and then if I hold it up, I can see the holes much clearer. If I hold it far away, yeah, those holes get kind of blurry, and I can't see my stitches as well. So I will say it's frustrating to me, because I did this so much when I was a teenager and into my early 20s, and it just seemed to, stitch with little trouble at all. But this is definitely more, I don't know, it's more labor intensive now, I guess, just because my eyes are not what they were. I guess I cannot expect 50-year-old eyes to be the same as 16, 17, 18-year-old eyes. So, but I really like how this is turning out. I think that's going to be really sweet. And while I'm talking about decorations, I should share this. I don't know what the pattern is. Lois, if you're watching and want to pop it down below. This was a gift from my friend Lois many years ago for Christmas. And I don't know, I can't remember if this is a sheep or a llama. I think she was saying mama llama, but it kind of looks like a sheep, but it's a little knitting friend. Isn't that sweet? So for many years, she would sit on my shelf during the winter time, but I thought she was perfect to sit back here and keep company in the yarn room. So a sweet little present from my good friend Lois. All right, so upcoming knitting plans. Last week I talked about that snow fern hat, and I have not started yet. The gnome was the project I started, but I do have my yarn ready. It's not very attractively caked up here or anything, but this is Patton's Classic Wool. It's a worsted weight, but it's definitely on the heavier side. And so the snow fern pattern calls, I believe, for an Aran or heavy worsted weight. So I think this is going to be perfect. And the light color, I think, will show off that pattern just beautiful. So I am anxious to start working on that. And I guess the reason also I didn't start that was because that blooming bandana cowl used a size 10 needles, so I was already working on big needles. And then this hat calls for an 8 for the ribbing, which that's not bad, but then a 10 for the body of the hat. So again, it's going to be with bigger needles. So I figured one project at a time was probably okay. So I hope to get that cast on very soon. And then also I would like to make another, and that's on my Make 9, and the gnome is on my Make 9 too. And then also I figured we will be heading into spring here shortly. We've definitely had some hint of spring days here. We've had some days in the 70s, nearing the 80s. so we'll have this stretch in Nebraska where we'll have some really warm days and then it'll go back to cold. So we're really, really up and down. Yeah, we're really, really up and down. And I'm sure we're not the only ones. You know, I'm sure others of you experience these crazy up and down weather patterns too. So actually today, I think it's supposed to get in the 70s again. Yesterday was just 50. So this probably will be, well, it will be coming off later. But then this weekend, I think down like Sunday in the 40s. Next week, you know, there's going to be a day in the 20s. So up and down, up and down. But that's what makes it so fun. The weather's so fun and interesting. And I guess what a lot of podcasters like to talk about. We like to talk about our weather because it is interesting. But another project from, I don't know where I was going with that, but spring is coming. So I decided I would like to make another springish type sweater. So I picked the Kaisa tee, and I will insert a picture here. And oh, it's by This Bird Knits. And I'm going to be using, it's Yarn Bee, so a Hobby Lobby Yarn Bee in the Plush Blush colorway. So it's a fingering weight yarn. And I have 3 skeins, but it should be only a 2 skein project. I did cake up, sorry, I'm reaching off this camera here. I did cake up, but boy, look at this, just kind of yarn barf. It just, yeah, it wasn't cooperating really well when I wound it up. But I do have 3 skeins. I guess I did that just in case I need to lengthen the sweater a little bit more than what the pattern calls for. But I'm kind of anxious to start on that. And in the same token, I'm a little nervous because it's a fingering weight sweater. And y'all were here with me with the Bean and Olive, which was a DK weight sweater, and I felt like that took forever. So this might feel the same way, but it's short sleeve, so maybe it'll be just fine, right? So that's something I hope to cast on. And then I crocheted a baby blanket earlier this year. I think that was in January. It was the Easy Textured Stripes blanket. And I would like to make a second one because my brother and his wife are expecting twin boys end of May or in June. So I took a break for the month of February, but now I would like to make that second one. So I make sure I get 2 baby blankets done for the twin boys. So those are some of my upcoming plans. I don't know for sure when I will start those because I, have a couple of whips already going on. And to be honest, if I have too many things going on, it makes me a little bit anxious. So I kind of like to have my whips under control. So we will see what happens with that. Just a little bit of chat about my Etsy shop. Thank you so much of those of you who have checked it out or purchased something or favorited it or just your kind comments and words of encouragement. I really appreciate that. I did share these on Instagram, but I'll show them a little more up close now. So these are the newest ones that are in the shop. So the first 2 are medium size. And this is, I think I called it Funky Trees, maybe. But if you look really closely, there are little snails on here. And I just thought those snails were so cute. So they have little flowers on the snail shell. I just thought that was so cute. So you can see why Carla was drawn to this fabric, the bright pink. So I think that is a really cute and sweet one. And then this, I think I called it Patchwork Floral. So this is actually all top stitched around the squares. So it definitely feels like a quilted bag. And all my bags do have batting in them. So it makes them really soft and squishy. And it's lined with this yellow polka dot fabric. So it's a really cheery spring bag. Yeah, I really like that one. And then the last one I have to share is a sock size, or my smallest size. And this is a pretty gray fabric with flowers and bees on it. And then the inside fabric is a gold color that's reminiscent of bees, but it has tiny like white and gray flowers. So those are the newest bags in the shop, and I will be adding more as the weeks, you know, move right along. Like I said, it's hard to believe it's already March. The year is marching on. So just a little bit of chatter. Last week I did go visit my son in Kearney, my son Ryan, and we had a nice time having lunch. And there is a cupcake store in Kearney called Small Cakes. So I always go there whenever I go to Kearney, which I don't go that often, every couple of months. So I always pick up a cupcake for Ryan, and then I bring one home for the rest of my family here. So that was fun. And then on the way home from Kearney back, I took a different way and I stopped at a Joann Fabrics, which was really fun to look at, you know, all the beautiful materials. So I have some, you know, new materials that will be coming to the shop at some point, you know, this spring and summer. Jeff's choir sang for church this weekend for a hymn festival, and that was beautiful. That was really nice. So he was quite busy with that. Our daughter Jenna had a choir concert on Monday night, and then I am an organist. I played the organ for a funeral yesterday. So it has been quite a busy week. My sewing machine went on the fritz for a couple days. I had to take a trip into Lincoln to have that looked at. So kind of an unexpected little problem there. So I feel like this week has just been a little bit hectic, but that's okay. That's okay. Those times happen. Let's see, we are on spring break now from our job. Jeff and I both teach at the college, so we are on spring break. I guess starting today officially for him. So I'm not sure what we're gonna get up to, but hopefully just a nice relaxing break. Gosh, I think that's probably it. I am going to take a little bit of a break from the podcast, probably at least 1 week, if not 2 weeks off from recording. This month is getting to be a little busy with some playing commitments for myself, and then our daughter Jenna is in the school musical, so we have that coming up too. So I think I just need to have a little bit of a breather. So I would like to take a little bit of a break, just so I feel like I can make some decent progress on my projects to share with you all. So I hope that you are all doing well. My heart goes out to the people of Ukraine. Just a very, very sad and scary time. So my thoughts and prayers are with them. And I know as well as many of you probably share the same sentiment. So my thoughts are with them there. But I hope that you are all doing well here. I hope that you are finding joy in your projects, whether it be knitting, crocheting, sewing, anything crafty. I hope that you find time to enjoy what you love doing. And with that, I'll say goodbye, and I hope to see you in a few weeks. Take care.